understand you have a collection of baseball artifacts.
I do.
And you have brought in a few to show.
Yes, I brought some rare and humorous items from the collection.
Okay.
To share some with you.
Make me laugh.
And here is the work of George Sosnick, retired umpire, who was kind of a folk artist, really, in his spare time. And I don't know whether he did these while he was still umping or after he was umping, but he had a huge collection of baseballs from various games and events, and they were game balls. And what he would do is he would just paint little pictures on the baseballs, and he would tell the whole story of the game and every minute detail.
It's incredible.
The box scores and, you know, details about the players involved and logos. And I don't know, there's about 100 of these or so floating around. I've got a couple.
How many, huh?
Yeah, and they're quite beautiful, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, now in the area of more bizarre, Ted Williams, one of the greatest hitters ever, did a lot of endorsements, and one that I always found very curious is he endorsed Champ prophylactics. So it's kind of a man's man thing to do, is you know.
I want to talk about crowds a bit, and first thing I want to know, you're a public person, Exhibit A, a rock star, visible, highly visible, recognized all the time. Do you appreciate the kind of anonymity of sitting in a crowd rather than being on a stage and addressing one?
Yeah, it is nice. You know, I like to go, I mean, baseball's a great escape. You know, all sports represent an escape from everyone's life, whatever it is. I think we're all, you know, living vicariously through the exploits of those, you know, giants on the field. So it's nice for me to be able to come down and to disappear in the crowd and watch someone else sweating it out.
Mm-hmm. How about Japanese crowds? You've been to baseball in Japan, I take it, where they sort of squeal on a stick.
Yeah.
And the whole pacing is more like sumo wrestling. Long periods of absolutely nothing, then boom!
Yeah, it's really a different experience. A friend of mine was playing over there for a number of years, and I went down to watch his final games. He was in the Japan Series, which is the equivalent of the World Series over here. And it's really a fun experience compared to what's going on here. I mean, for the most part, the crowd is very sedate, pretty quiet until something big happens. But then you've got these bleachers, and out in the bleachers, it's like a high school cheerleading section. You know, each team has its section, and they're repeating these fight songs, they call them, songs that inspired guts, and that's kind of the terminology they use. Fight, you know, fight hard, guts, win, you know, and then these inane songs that go on the entire game, like they just non-stop, like really out of tune kind of chanting and banging of drums and flag waving. So it's kind of a bizarre setting for the whole thing. And of course, you know, Japanese games can end in a tie, which goes totally against any, you know, North American vision of the game, where you'll sit there for 19 innings until somebody wins. There, as long as they've shown a good effort, let's call it quits, kind of thing. So.
And then there are the British crowds, and from the point of view of a musician, I think you've probably witnessed the kind of spontaneous sing-songing that goes on both in football games and in rock arenas. Can you?
Yeah. A lot of the English towns were like that, but in particular, we played in Scotland. This one gig we did at the Apollo in Glasgow, and we were doing a song that was successful in that part of the world. And in the middle of the song, you could hear this sound, and you know, you looked out, and the whole crowd was standing, and they were chanting. They were singing the song really loudly. It was Closer to the Heart, and they were, you know, so loud that we could hear it over our din, you know. So fortunately, we recorded that performance, and we listened back to it, and it was amazing. But that's their nature, and they I think have a very similar attitude when they go to a rock show as to when they go to their sports. It's their team or it's their band, and they're, you know, rooting for you.
Over the years, have you developed a sixth sense about crowds, sensing whether it's an unruly, restless and dangerous crowd or a harmonious one, and do you feel that you can control crowds better than you could as a novice performer?
It's difficult, and usually it's not subtle. I mean, you can tell an unruly crowd from a well-behaved crowd pretty instantly.
Remember those amazing scenes in Gimme Shelter, the movie with the Stones playing Altamont in '69, where everything breaks down because the Hells Angels are doing the security, and they're not doing it very responsibly. And the band breaks down, and Mick or Keith are going like, "Cool out, man! If that cat hits that person one more time, we're not playing, man."
Yeah.
And you can see the fear that it's all going to go terribly wrong.
Why are we fighting? We don't want to fight. Come on. Who wants to fight? Hey, you know, I mean, like, every other scene has been cool. Like look, Cat, that guy there, if he doesn't stop it, man. Listen, either those cats call it, man, or we don't play.
Have you ever felt that fear?
Yeah, I have. And, you know, as in Altamont, the Stones, you know, one of the most popular, most important bands ever, they couldn't control their crowd. And I think when the crowd passes a certain point where there's this wave of pushing back and forth, and you can't control it. And they don't care if you say, listen, we're not going to play anymore. It's like, you know, it's gone too far. Something else has taken over. There's this jostling, and people are angry, and they're tired of being pushed, and then they start pushing back, and then one thing leads to another.
Even though commercial interests would prefer that both rock and roll and sports be showcased in larger and larger and larger venues, I think the average fan would sooner see his favorite band in a small club or his favorite baseball team in a park like they used to have them with real grass and so on. And I remember the Expos at Jerry Park, and the intimacy and the fun of it was a direct result of the intimacy of the park and the romance of that old small stadium thing. Is anybody returning to this, and is it commercially viable?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it is the latest trend in ballpark design to return to the, quote, park. And it's the argument against places like this. As flashy as it is, and as exciting as it is in one sense, it's really not what the game is about. I mean, baseball is a beautiful game aesthetically, and it's meant to be played on a field of grass. Fields of grass usually found in parks, not in stadiums. So there are the baseball stadiums, and there are these new things, baseball parks. Camden Yards in Baltimore, Jacobs Field in Cleveland, and the ballpark in Arlington, Texas, have all designed their new stadiums like old stadiums. They're lovely. They're great romantic places for a ball fan to go and watch their team. And that's really, I think, an important move to bring the game back to life. Those are the things people should be doing to bring the fans back to the ballpark and create interest in baseball. It's like, you can't make it into basketball. You can't make it splashy. So why don't you make it more of what it really is, which is a leisurely, beautiful day out at the park. And that's what I think the appeal is.
Thank you for talking to me. And next time I'll show you my yogurt cup collection.
Okay.